It's 7 o'clock. 7:01.
This is the conversation that I appreciate that people raise sign in on here. And let's get started. And like lots of people had everywhere. And just because there's a lot of people here, I'll let you know ahead of time. Our next meeting will be a remote, fully remote. So, you exchange your.
That's, thank you.
Okay, yeah. Our first meeting is notice intent for 63 Mendon Street.
Okay, and I'll read the public notice for that. Great. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act that the Upton Conservation Commission will be holding the following public hearings on Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024. 7 p.m. a notice of intent filed by Patrick Hazard for the installation of a 40-foot by 40-foot RV shelter, extension of the driveway and restoration work at 63 Mendon Street.
Okay, so who is our applicant?
Clay.
Be me, Madam Chair. Can you hear me all right?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Can I turn my camera on? I don't know.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, here we go.
And you can introduce yourself and describe your project.
Okay, great. Everyone see and hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. So thank you all for taking this matter. My name is Clay Williams on behalf of Patrick Hazard, the owner and occupant of 63 Mendon Street. We submitted a notice of intent to construct a 40 by 40 RV storage shelter, as well as restore some of the BVW that was previously disturbed due to the clearing that Patrick did about a month or two ago. So this filing is in response to the positive RDA and enforcement order that your board issued a few weeks ago. I can share my screen, or I don't know if it's easier for me to do that, or Grace or Mary. That way we can kind of go over the plan here.
Minute. Yep, now see if you can share.
All right. Can everybody see this over here?
Yep.
Great. So we'll start off with just talking about the property. This is 63 Mendon Street right here. Here is Patrick's home. Down on the left-hand side of the site, or the western portion, we have the small stream running through. And from a site visit that Mary and I did, we determined that the wetland extended about 10 feet beyond the edge of the stream. You can kind of see where the depression here is running along. The stream doesn't exactly follow the blue line here via the mass mapper. Moving down, this is the proposed conditions plan. So we have a 40 by 40 structure, an approximate location of a gravel driveway to access it. And then I also noted the edge of the wetland being this blue line here, 10 feet off of the stream. This green line represents 30 feet away from the edge of the wetland, or 40 feet from the stream, and then, which is the no touch zone. And then the orange or red line here is 50 feet off of the wetland, which is your no build line. So as you can see, we are requesting a waiver from the 50-foot no build zone, and that is just to preserve some of the existing yard that Patrick has. Approximately, I believe it was 200 square feet of the building would be in that zone. So the closest point would be 50 feet away from the stream, or 40 feet away from the wetland. Moving down, talking a bit about restoration with the enforcement order. The plan is to remove some of the fill that has been placed there after stumps were removed down to the existing grades. We'll use the GIS mass mapper to get a good idea of where those grades were and kind of move as much soil as we possibly can. After that's done, we propose to plant a handful of blueberry bushes and sweet pepper bushes per Mary's recommendation, along with one maple tree. And along with the plantings and the soil removal, we will put 2 concrete bounds along the no disturb line, kind of placed equidistant over here. So this picture shows it a little bit better, kind of where the area is in relation to his home. And then obviously, as you all remember from the last hearing, more or less this whole portion has been cleared. Patrick and his family have been renting this house for just about 10 years and just recently purchased it. They moved to Massachusetts from down south, where I think, property ownership and use is just a bit different than it is here in Massachusetts with local governance and conservation commissions and that sort of thing. So I really believe that this was not with bad intentions. I think it was a common misunderstanding of knowing that you have to ask for permission to do something like this. I believe that a lot of the trees that were out there were, either dead or dying. And from what he's told me, he was just trying to improve the safety of his property and give himself a place to store his family's travel trailer out of the weather. So I think that kind of gives a good overview of the project and kind of what our plans are to respond to your enforcement order. And I guess I'm happy to answer any questions or however you see fit, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Mary, what are your comments?
I guess, looking through this whole thing, I had a question about the bridge. And, what is the long-term purpose of the bridge?
The bridge is used for his kids to kind of access the other side of the stream. They go and play over there. When I was walking the site with Patrick, his youngest son was out there kind of just walking around in the woods. So it wouldn't be for any vehicular access. It's just a footbridge. And one other thing too, thank you for reminding me, we're going to reduce the size of the bridge. So right now he has 6 logs laid across it. We'll remove 3 of those for a final size of 13 feet long and 4 feet wide, which cuts it down by about half.
Yeah, so just my summary of this is, this lot is subject to the bylaw because the house was built in 2008. The applicant is requesting a waiver to put the RV 40 feet off the BVW. The applicant does have a relatively large backyard, so it wouldn't be necessary, but obviously he would like to build it as close to the wetland as possible. And he is proposing to restore the wetland and the buffer. So, there's fill in the buffer zone as well as the wetland. They're gonna, take it out as best as possible and replant. So I think that's positive.
Is it a named stream, Mary?
Is it a named
Right,
stream?
is it a named stream? It's off of the top of Mendon Street, so I was curious.
It's not perennial, if that's your
Okay, yeah,
question.
more or less, yeah.
Yeah, it's just intermittent. I don't know that it has a name.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't believe it's named from some of the research that I did trying to look at like stream stats and the topo maps. I didn't see a name anywhere.
Right, and the current bridge, you guys may want to consider what you think about the bridge. It's, basically 3 logs that have been placed across. It's very, but it works fine. It's rustic. It certainly is an alteration. So, I think it's permittable, but and definitely with reducing the size, it had been 6 logs wide. And these are not small logs. These are, I can pull up the picture, relatively substantial. So, so those were my comments. There is no DEP number right now. And so I think you do just need to think about whether you want to grant the waiver for the RV shelter. And I think installing the bounds is good. And those are kind of my comments. And if anyone wants to pull up the pictures, I can share my pictures.
Please.
See those. Okay.
I have a question. What's it's gonna be like what kind of a a shelter, is it?
So it's basically
The,
just,
garage or with a concrete footing or
it'll be placed on gravel.
gravel?
So I believe it will have concrete to anchor it to the ground, but it won't be a poured slab. It's just for storage. There's no utilities proposed. So there's no electricity, there's no water, there's no sink. It's basically just so he doesn't have to keep the RV with a tarp over it all year round.
Any other
I
questions?
have a question. So what will be the two bounds? How far from the wetland line will they be set?
So my thought was to place them along the 30-foot no touch zone. So they would be 40 feet away from the wetland. And then kind of spaced equidistant along the, between the two property lines that he has.
Pretty good picture of the disturbance and the bridge.
That's an intermittent stream.
Yeah, it is an intermittent stream.
Right.
It is a big intermittent stream. Yeah, no, I did not run stream stats on it, but it's definitely, I did look it up on the USGS map and it is considered intermittent. Clay, did the owner say whether it ever dries up?
Yeah, like last summer, I think there was so much rain that it trickled at least part of the year. But previously, since he's been in the house for almost 10 years, some of those drier summers, it has completely dried up.
Where is 63 Mendon Street? Whereabouts is that?
It's right next to Kenneth Village, so it's right
Okay.
north of that.
Okay.
And so when looking at the wetland line, the Kenneth Village plans actually have the wetland line going onto his property, so I felt pretty good about putting it where we did.
Okay.
So, yeah, it didn't go the whole way, yeah.
Do we have other questions from the commission?
Well, I have a question.
Marcella's got her hand up,
Oh,
and, sorry.
Go ahead, Marcia.
Hi, I'd be curious to see what the plan looks like with the structure out of the 50-foot zone. It doesn't seem to me like it would encroach on the lawn that much. And I'm also concerned about the water crossing. I mean, we have, the town has to file for that kind of stuff. And I don't know how much that has, how much of an impact that has, but that looks pretty big to me. So I feel like we need more here.
And
And
when
that-
you say, yep, go ahead. So I think I interrupted
Well,
someone else.
yeah, Mike Panko Commission, kind of similar to Marcella's comment, when I think about issuing variances under the bylaw, it's if there's a hardship or if there's some sort of a constraint that makes the variance really necessary. And I'm not sure I see a hardship or a constraint here.
Yeah, I don't either, actually.
Yes. Can I share my screen again really quick, Mary? All right. Can everyone see this?
Yep.
Cool. So, being mindful of the two setbacks of the property, shifting the corner of this building up to this line would move it, just about an extra 20, 25 feet, kind of in the middle of his yard. So that box is going to end up being, somewhere more in this general vicinity. It obviously would be rotated. I think from his perspective, he just wants to maintain as much of his yard as possible. His young children play sports. And I think he, likes that he can have a little wiffle ball field out there that he did previously before all his trees were cut down. So I guess that's kind of the hardship based on the way the wetland intersects the lot. And that's kind of the narrowest point. Moving out of that 50 would really kind of move it substantially closer to the house.
I have a question. Who determined the location and size of the wetland? You kind of inferred in your presentation that you did, but I assume it was up to the town or some other authority to determine that location of that
Right.
wetland.
So on April 22nd, I believe, a month ago today, Mary and I had a site walk. So she brought the plan for the condo development to the south of this property. And we measured kind of the delineation line off of one of the existing bounds. And then we walked along the stream and took some soil samples and kind of determined that about 10 feet off of the stream is where the edge of the wetland is. So it was between myself and Mary.
My question is, why would this be up to you to determine?
Typically, an applicant will either, hire a wetland scientist to do the wetland line. In this case, since it was a smaller project, we did not require hiring a wetland scientist personally, but I feel comfortable with the line, but the board could ask for, someone, a wetland scientist to be hired, especially considering there is, fill on top of, some of the area. But looking at the site from above and below, I'm fairly confident with it, but, it could be, you could go further on that.
Yeah, but it just seems very convenient to putting up that structure, they determine the location of the wetland.
Well, it was done in conjunction with the agent, the Conservation Commission.
Well, he didn't mention that.
Well, he actually said she.
She approved it, didn't see any problem, but I don't see where anything in particular was really done to determine the location, size of that wetland.
She did testing, she used the.
Yeah, I looked at the.
You are Mary, I take it?
Yes, I'm Mary, yes, I'm the
That's
conservation
one thing
administrator.
I didn't realize that.
And very frequently does verify the wetland permit line. And so that's not unusual. And for our minutes, sir, just we need to know your name and address.
My name and address,
Sign up sheet.
Raymond Davis, 5 Colonial Drive.
Thank you.
We need to send a sign up sheet around, didn't we?
Yeah, we've already signed it.
Okay.
Didn't see
And
anyone
do
else.
we have any more questions from the commission?
I just have one question, Clay. You had mentioned removing that fill that had been, near the stream. How would you all go about removing that, and did you have a planting, plan as well for posts?
I guess I didn't put together a planting plan. I'm not a civil engineer myself. This was kind of based off of GIS. So I thought if we had, 10 new plants and one larger tree, we would just disperse them evenly and then spread some wetland seed mix along that 10-foot offset. If there's some way that the commission would like to see it over another, we're absolutely open to that. Patrick has told me that basically, whatever we have to do to satisfy the commission, I think he understands now why what he did was wrong, and he just kind of wants to remedy this and move forward. So we were just proposing, an even planting and a spread of like a normal wetland seed mix down in that 10-foot buffer.
It would be good on this plan that you have to show where the plants would go, where the seed mix would go. That would be a regular requirement for people. So it could be, it doesn't have to be a technical plan, just show us somewhere. Where in relationship to the pounds also. It might,
Yeah, I have another question. Do you also propose to see the no-disturb buffer zone as well?
With wetland seed mix?
Well, with an appropriate seed mix.
Yeah, we're open to if that's what the commission, desires. Absolutely. We figured that we would just leave it kind of in its, I guess virgin soil is probably not the right term, but as much as we can to its kind of previous status.
one thing that I would recommend is seeing that there was fill put in there, having some person comment. A person qualified to do this, show where they see, soil removed, and then where the line is now. So, showing that all the fill was removed. So you can show where the fill was removed and where the wetland may have been before. Does that make sense to the commission?
Talking about like a before and after.
Does that make sense, Clay?
Yeah, so you're looking to see where the fill was placed and then where that fill will be removed.
Right.
Okay,
Is it
yeah, I think I
our
can,
No, not yet. Okay.
Does that make sense, Mary?
You have him hire a wetland scientist to evaluate it once the fill is out.
Right.
Makes sense.
Okay, now typically what we do is have the applicant describe the project and then the commission ask questions and then the audience can ask questions. And for the people in the audience, if you tell us your name and where your address is, that's useful for our minutes. So do we have more questions from the audience? Yes, ma'am.
Carolyn Rochu, I'm from Colonial Drive. We did not all get a notice about this happening, in a condominium, there is no abutter, we're all abutters. So when we didn't get a notice, it was really kind of surprising, just some people got it. 3 trustees are here, only one of the trustees actually ended up with a letter. So we would like to be more informed about what happens, going forward with this. We are a little concerned about the size of this, garage or whatever, judging from the information that I got when I came to visit the commission yesterday. So that's why we're all here.
Well, the one thing I would like to apologize for, I don't understand why you didn't get a notice. Someone in the community association should have gotten one, and so I apologize for that. So I'm happy that you're all here, and we'll do the best we can, give you all the information that you need. And the good thing is, you don't have a DAP number, that means that to continue to show. And I'm sure the word will spread, right? And the next meeting is gonna be remote, fully remote.
So that's gonna be another problem because we have 2 people. One of them is on the board, who do not have internet.
Oh,
So when meetings like this go remote, we would rely on, getting a notice,
right.
the mail. So that's going to be a problem unless everybody comes to my house. So we
We need to schedule it for later.
There you go.
When
well-
we're back.
You may not have a DEP number.
Right,
So-
right. And the one thing, that we need to explain is to move forward with any project, when you have a DEP number, it's the term of environmental protection number. And this one doesn't have one yet. And since everyone would like to be here, we can schedule this, we should move to the following. Yes, next meeting, we have people not being here, the commission and the board, our agent, so if that would be helpful, or we could do it to a time when we can see two persons. And all of the meetings are published in the newspaper, and then continued again.
Just another comment about these notices. I'm just looking on here just to see what was on the list and they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 Colonial Drive. The way they're sent is you have to be home to sign for it. So if you weren't home, they may end up at the post office. That's the way
We were all home.
we're all home.
In fact, I saw them go to all of the homes and then stop at number, what's your name? Number 7. And I said, oh, we must be next.
Wow.
And from there on, up.
So 1, 3, and 5.
That was the end of it.
So what number are you?
We're 5.
Okay,
So 1, 3, and 5 did not get.
Yes.
okay, so Clay, do you have the green cards?
of course, I don't have them with me, but
Yeah.
so this list that I have pulled up on the screen here, this is the certified abutters list signed by Valerie, your assessor. And everybody who was on this list had a certified abutters mailing go out. And I have a giant stack of the green cards that came back to me, but those are at my house in Worcester. I'm in my office in Boston today.
So
but
once
that's
you
something we can check
scan
right after
those
the
and
meeting.
scan those and send them over to us so we can verify
Sure.
that everyone properly.
And these would be delivered by the mail.
Right, the post office.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions on the structure itself. First of all, I'm concerned about the size. 40 by 40 is a pretty big unit. Why is that size necessary? And how many RVs, whatever is gonna be housed there? What does it look like? I'm concerned about, you mentioned this being on gravel, maybe some concrete, but then again, maybe not. And what is the construction of the building itself? Is it like a Quonset hut? Is it metal? Is it conventional construction? What's it gonna be?
Yeah, it's built out of wood. And 40 by 40, I believe his travel trailer is almost 30 feet long. So it just gives him enough space to kind of move around it and store lawn equipment and that sort of thing. I think it's not too big of I think it's an average, I guess it would be a 3-car garage in terms of sizing. Just big enough that way he's got enough space to move around the RV and he's not going to be close to, hitting walls when he backs it in there.
Still seems pretty large to me.
Okay, what might be useful for the next meeting would be to have a diagram which shows you the size of everything, not on the plan. Because
Okay.
we-
And how about addressing you said it's gonna be put on gravel? How about addressing that? That doesn't give us much information.
Yeah,
As far as the
so-
stability of the building.
Right. It'll be built on a footing, on a concrete footing, and then inside of it will be gravel.
That would be good to put on the plans as well. So I think you need a more detailed set of plans for the building, the wetlands. So you need to have more than just the GIS information. You need to have a civil engineer draw that out.
Yeah, we also need more information. You said wood. But I think it should be more forthcoming of what in particular it's gonna be like.
Yeah, I guess through the chair, if I may. So I was on that meeting when Patrick got his RDA for my property over on Wildwood Ave. I used to work for a big real estate developer who built a project in Upton. And after speaking with him, he got a quote from an engineering company for almost $7,000 to delineate and write a plan for this. And through my discussions with Mary, I think imposing that sort of cost on a single family property owner for, a relatively minor project. I understand your comment about size, but there's no utilities here. This isn't necessarily a house. It's basically just a structure to keep, an RV out of the weather. So, I think in terms of hardship that one of the other members spoke about earlier, an extra $7,000 for this project, to me, that seems, a bit unreasonable to put up a storage structure in your backyard. I understand all your comments, but, when
I
you
don't
bring
think
in the
most of us
professionals.
Through the chair,
You
please.
speak through her.
The one thing I just wanted to mention, Clay, is what does the code enforcement require for the building?
Do they require engineered plans for this?
Yeah.
No, I don't know, so they do.
Do they
Right.
bring plans?
They do require plans.
What kind of plans would they?
It needs to be, I don't know what I can look at what they've submitted, but I know they haven't submitted,
Okay,
they have not submitted an engineered plan for this. They do reply. A lot of times, in fact, you'll see what for the next project, what has been submitted. It's a sketch plan or
Can be hand done.
it can be hand done. It doesn't necessarily have to be.
Years ago, I had a garage built, it wasn't an engineered drawing, it was a sketch.
Yeah.
And that was sufficient for the building department.
Yeah.
I do have one other question that has occurred to me, what's the setback requirement here in this zone? Size
It's
setback?
20 feet for a side yard. And
Okay, and
we're
then
right in between both
what
of
is-
those.
What is the condition of the the southern side of the property right now, have all the trees been cleared from that up to the boundary, or is there still something to screen?
Yeah,
Is it still
there's still
screened?
some screening.
By some, how much, just.
Yeah, can you pull up that picture again, Mary? You've got better pictures of the current condition than I do.
See.
The other thing I'll just say, just while we're doing that is, I appreciate your comment about the cost of the engineering services. And it's for everyone here, it's not unusual for us to, when there's a single homeowner involved, to accept a sketch plan rather than, an engineered sign stamp drawing, so. As long as we feel like that the resources being protected. We do have latitude.
So this is standing in near his house, looking toward the stream. The Colonial Drive houses would be to the left over there. There's still pine trees, which I assume are on his property. And if you go further down, this is closer to the stream. You're actually looking, I'm not sure, at another development through the woods. And these pine trees are still standing in this section. He did cut some across the stream. And, maybe we should be asking him to plant some trees across the stream as well. The ground has not been disturbed there, but there have been trees removed. That's that section.
Is that, excuse me, is that fill in the foreground?
Yeah, this is the fill.
That's fill,
Well, as you can see the stumps there, it may only be a foot,
like just
yeah, a foot or, I think it's deeper right closer to the stream, but it's
to level it out.
just trying to level it out.
Mary, do you think some plantings along the property line might be appropriate for screening?
Yep. That might be a good idea.
Other projects that were approved in the town had evergreens planted for a screen, so that may help abutters. I might be able to see that.
And I think in this picture, you can see this house here is one of the Colonial Drive houses, I believe. You can see it through the trees.
You can see how close.
Yeah, it is close,
Very
but
close.
there is still some trees there.
I lost all the privacy.
Yeah. And this is looking south where Colonial Village would be on the left, kind of the open area.
Right.
I have a question for you. You referred to this as a minor project. I don't know, to me, it doesn't seem like a minor project. You're talking about a structure 40 by 40. I think that's a pretty large structure because of that minor. I would think something like a small tool house, 10 by 12 or something like that. This to me goes beyond that, referring to the minor project.
A subdivision would be a major project in our.
Right. Right, exactly. In my mind, a major project is multiple dwelling units, construction of roads, construction of a domicile, a house that has utilities, electric service, a well and a septic and that sort of thing. I think building one single garage compared to, a significant condominium development or single family home, to me, and working in the development industry, I think I understand why, you would say that, but to me, this seems relatively minor. It's one
Well, you
structure,
mentioned-
utilities.
Chair, please.
Yeah, I know, but you talk all the time and I'm just trying to say, get something in my word and once in a while.
The commission talking.
State their name and address before they speak the public, please.
Fine. And then we'll keep going.
Raymond Davis, 5 Colonial Drive. And as I say, a single garage might be one thing, but you mentioned this in terms of the size of a 3-car garage. To me, I still say that's more minor. I don't know where this definition of major versus minor, coincides. Is different.
We're here to protect the resources, the buildings, the codes, all that. That's not really our purview, other than where they place it and how it's done. So for us, this is a minor project. It's about the resources. For other, maybe the building department or zoning or whatever, maybe that's where you need to discuss that with them. But for us, it's a garage with no utilities. Our job is to protect the resources and to make the stream, and that's what we're here for.
Well, are they having a hearing on that? On
I
the
don't know.
construction of the building?
I don't know.
Shouldn't there be some coordination and cooperation with the different committees?
At times there is, they mention it to us, and when we bring people in front of us and we discuss the wetland, the resources, that's what we do. And then we have to approve it on our end, but we don't approve it for the building department or anything.
Clay, did you have to go through, code enforcement or the, planning board?
Right. Right. So how we kind of ended up here is he went down and spoke with code enforcement. I believe about a year ago when he was kind of planning this project. And, through code enforcement's understanding of the project, and they didn't realize that there were wetlands back here. They said, oh, no problem, simple construction of outbuilding with no utilities, no big deal. And then once he cleared things and he went in there, I think somebody realized, hey, you have to go to conservation. And that's how we ended up filing his RDA at your meeting a little over a month ago. So he's already spoken with them. They understand the construction. They're okay with it. They just directed him to go, present before your commission to, understand like the buffer from the wetland area. And obviously now that everything is cleared, how to restore that.
Thank you, Clay. We have other questions regarding the wetlands. Yes, ma'am.
Rebecca Hudson, 6 Colonial Drive. And was it just, I'm just curious more than anything. What is gonna become of all those trees that were cut down and stacked on that lot?
You're burning them.
Clay,
I live on that side of the street.
Right.
What's
Yeah.
going to happen with the pile of logs?
Yeah. So I think the larger logs would end up getting hauled off, but some of the smaller brush, he is intending to burn. And
Okay.
I think it's important to mention that he's been a volunteer firefighter in the town ever since he moved here almost 10 years ago. So I have the utmost confidence, in him taking all safety precautions necessary and applying for the normal permits to do that.
and, in that regard, we're requiring some planting that might, when you look at the plan, also help,
The block.
Large woody debris.
does that
Pardon me?
address the concern? Does that address?
That's
the
fine.
concern?
Yeah, I just would like, they're stacked, very large stacks back there.
That will be
And I just would
taken
like to know what's gonna happen with them.
will be taken care of, one way or the other. Any other questions from the audience?
I just have one comment. When it was described to me as a temporary structure that's gonna be built there, and it doesn't look too temporary to me when I got this plan. So,
It's not a temporary structure, is it, Clay?
No, it'll be attached to the ground.
That's what I thought.
And the building department understands that and they were okay with it.
okay.
Any other questions from the audience or the commission?
This will be continued, right?
Right.
So we're gonna continue for the second meeting.
Not this one, but the
Right.
one after.
Right.
So then hopefully everyone's gonna.
Yeah, so that will be in person again, so the people that don't have internet will be able to come here.
Went down to 24th
You bet back.
or June 26th, I think.
Yes,
Yes, I'll be back. Okay. And Clay, are you okay with the 1 month continuance?
Is there not a meeting 2 weeks from now? Do you only meet monthly?
No, there is a meeting in 3 weeks. I'm gonna be on vacation, and I guess there was a concern. That meeting we're gonna hold entirely remotely, and so people had so there were some concerns with access. So, I mean, maybe you need to talk this over with the applicant as to whether they want to accept the 1 month continuance or not. It would be at the discretion of the applicant.
But we still don't have a DEP number.
Right, but they probably will in 3 weeks.
And the one,
Maybe not, potentially in 3 weeks.
the one thing that may be helpful for the applicant is we're requiring more plans. And it may take time, if someone brought the plan.
Or sketches.
Or sketches.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so you want to see sketches of the number and location of plantings in the restoration area and some sort of approximate location of where the fill is and where the fill will be removed. Am I understanding that right?
And where the building is.
Okay,
Why don't you do a mock-up of 50 feet off the line? I think the board was leaning in that direction.
I am.
That's what we're interested
They
in.
moved it out, they'd only have to do their restoration.
yeah, I guess part of the reason that we're proposing it there, like when you look at the existing neighborhood on the other side of the stream, I mean, they have their yard extends out, which looks like into the wetlands. You can see some of the vegetation, kind of along the surface there is almost going right up to their fence. So, I guess based on where the setbacks are, I think that was a good point that somebody brought up earlier. The shape of this lot, staying in 20 feet away from the condominium development to the south, is really going to jut that thing out towards the middle of his yard.
Okay, any questions from anyone? So,
It's like my
well,
phone has
yeah.
happened.
Priscilla,
yeah, Marissa?
Just one last thought. I know that you need to accommodate something that's 30 feet long, but it's not 30 feet wide. Could it be narrowed a little bit? The structure could be narrower.
I can ask. I don't want to commit to anything. He wasn't available this evening. I can ask, but I think, he really would like it to be a 40 by 40 structure. My understanding is this is like almost a kit building. And I'll confirm with him on what the plans look like. But from what he's told me, he really would like it to be a square.
and I think there's room closer to the house to put the square. There's no question of that.
Yeah, that's what I was on.
Yeah.
Any questions from the commission or the audience?
So do we establish a time, the next.
Next week, so we're gonna continue it, well, we can continue it to the 12th and get back to the applicant, or you can go ahead, and continue it to the 24th, I think, but you would have to get Clay's permission for everything.
Yeah, we would rather
like-
have the meeting be on the
So-
12th through the chair. Excuse me.
And so if, yeah,
Well, even if it's continued to the 12th, the commission could move it to the 21st.
right, yep, it could still, and a note on access to our meetings, this is actually only our second in-person meeting for the last 3 years. All our meetings have been entirely remote, so that's just been the way it's been, so.
And there's phone
And-
access,
and-
there's phone access on the phone.
That's
too.
true, that's a good.
You don't have to have internet, you can do it on the phone.
You can call in on your phone.
And the first week in June, we're going back to remote because our administrators is gonna be on vacation. Our admin person has requested that as well, so we're not comfortable that we'd be able to actually start the meeting by ourselves. Start a hybrid meeting by ourselves.
I can't.
So that's why we're going back to remote that first meeting, and after that, hopefully, we're gonna be
In person.
hybrid
Right.
meetings.
I think for our next meeting, we're gonna do it to
And the 12th, what time?
That's gonna be a heavy agenda, we can do it. You wanna have it early on, does that make sense? All right, 7 o'clock.
So 7 o'clock and for the meeting, it'll probably be continued to the following meeting.
Yeah. Especially if there's no DEP number, right, has to be.
Right, because we can't issue the permit without that number.
And the DEP may comment too.
Right. Thank you for everyone who came, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And appreciate your interest in the project and the environment.
Oh, somebody's.
That's my.
And thank you everyone as well. I appreciate you taking the time to hear us out. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks with some new information for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
7:45. Oh, okay, so, RTA at 7:30 for 32 story flats. The installation of a sunroom.
All right, notice is hereby given in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act that the Upton Conservation Commission will hold the following public hearing on Wednesday, May 22nd at 7:30 PM. RDA filed by Ian Simpson for the construction of a 21 by 14 raised four-season room, converting a portion of the existing raised deck at 32 Shore Drive.
Correct.
Do I need to go into this?
Yeah, I'm here. Should I sit with them? We can just go back and forth.
Yeah, we can go back.
My name's Kevin White. I'm the contractor hired by Mr. Simpson.
Okay. And so yeah, we're going to go through this project first, or
Yeah, sure. Do you want me to put something on the screen here? Make yourself see what I have.
Yeah, to make people probably be interested.
our neighbors love the idea, so that makes things a little easier. Yeah. But yeah, so basically we had a two-tier deck, that when we started this process, realized we built without a permit well before we bought the house. And comes, yeah, so here's up on the screen, so two-tier, the closest tier, or the one closest to the pond is maybe 40 feet. Mary came last weekend from the far left edge of the red box, which is where the room will be built, is about 43 feet from the pond. And so clearly years ago, we built the deck, didn't bother with building permit nor conservation. And so what we're proposing is taking a piece of the deck, which is the two blue boxes, and then building, adding some new footings and going to the corner of the house and putting a four-season sunroom there. So it'll be raised off the ground, walk-up basement because the land slopes towards the pond. And so, some new footings, but otherwise just raised up with the deck for somebody to look upon. And then in coordination with that, there's one tree right kind of off the corner of the room to the left, and then three trees that, those windy days, if something were to happen, those would be the ones that would impact things. So not touching any trees near the waterfront. And Mary proposed, take out 4 trees, let's plant 4 new bushes down by the pond. Totally reasonable. And that's an easy one. And put those in. Yeah, so that's kind of our plan, to add some living space, add some being nice room over the environment. So.
Well, we appreciate that key in conservation with this one.
Well, at first, I got the variance a few months ago at the town because the lot, all the lots are really narrow, so I got the variance for the side lot line to go, I think we can go 15 feet from the property line. My measurements, of course, because I don't know what I'm doing, I thought, we're 50 feet from the pond. But of course, you go to the left corner and the pond comes in a bit and it's 43 feet. So it's, between 43 and 50 feet away from the pond. I don't do anything mechanical for work. And I do work for a sustainable investing firm, so I care about this stuff. And so, but yeah, our goal is minimal impact. A lot of the homes on the pond are significantly closer to the water than us, but at least we're building up, minimal impact to the ground and keep everything.
So did you say the new construction is gonna be all 3 of those little boxes in the front?
No,
Just
just
the
the red.
Just the red?
Yeah, the 2 blue ones, that's the existing deck.
So you're just gonna have a new building for the red and leave the decks?
Yeah.
Okay, Mary, what is your observation and recommendation?
Yeah, so I think the decks were all unfortunately built without conservation approval. So we have that back history because this house is subject to the bylaw, so they are within the 50-foot no build zone, the decks. But that's history at the moment. And so he's, proposing a sunroom. So I think my only real cut now, these are sonotubes, right? Are you doing sonotubes?
Yes, Kevin.
I'm gonna use helical piles.
Or you can use helical piles?
So I'm cutting out a portion of the deck where I don't know if my helical pile can get in, so I might have to dig one. But I can silt fence it, hay bale it if I do any digging whatsoever.
Yeah.
There will be 2 gutters on the room, so I'll dig dry wells for the water terminations. But very non-invasive with the helical piles.
Okay.
What's gonna be underneath, like walk out.
Yeah, he's gonna walk out slider that he might turf or do
There's some
something.
gravel, and I might put just big grass on, but it's just gravel underneath the deck. Our
Oh,
air
okay,
conditioners are
so
done.
you're not gonna close it in for storage
You
or?
know,
something.
at worst, I would put just like mesh, like bug screen.
Oh,
Yeah.
So I can walk out and not get hit by
It'll be like 8 feet, so it's like
Yeah.
a lot of space to utilize.
that's what
Yeah,
I
one of
meant.
the photos Mary took, you can see the space we have underneath there, and it's, if I screen it in, it's like, oh, this is kind of a nice spot, but the air conditioners are there, so you would never hang out, it's not relaxing, because when they're going, we have.
You'll hang out.
Yeah.
But we'll have spray foam and we'll cover it, so it'll be fully enclosed, so it's a lot of square footage to utilize.
Any other questions from the question?
So you just bought the home or you've been there a while?
3 years, 3 and a half
3
years, yeah. And yeah, when we started this process, we realized, oh, there's no permits on file. Yeah. I did on Google Maps, you can see like the previous views, it's been there for at least 10 years, like the home is a newer home, especially for Shore Drive. So I don't know why they didn't, but that's one of those, fortunately, unfortunately, I look at it and, there are a lot of homes that built a long time ago that are 10 feet off the pond. The good thing though, like when we have torrential downpour, pond might raise half a foot, I think it's average 7 or 8 feet.
Wow.
And so the water level doesn't change, it's just pretty consistent, which is,
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
That's
so there
what
you
I
go,
wanted
yeah.
to know.
Yeah, so this is
One
the,
thing we might have done with living there.
So it's gonna be right here.
it's gonna go right above the
Right
existing deck.
Right where we're seeing.
I think I'm
Yeah,
picking
no.
out about 6 feet of this.
Yeah.
And it's just,
Oh, and it's gonna go over further.
so initially, so since the room's coming out, there's like a 4.5 inch step down, the deck has a step down onto
Okay.
it. But we want the finished floor to be flush, so I was gonna build a sleeper floor on this framing, but then I would have had to raise this framing up to meet it, so I was like, why don't we just take it down and frame it, so it's continuous the whole way.
Yep.
So I'll support the beam where I'm cutting it out, and the existing framing will be completely untouched, and then I'll frame completely new.
But so it is actually larger than the deck footprint, it's going a little bit.
Yeah, we're coming out to the corner of the house right here,
yeah,
but we're not projecting any further
Right,
yeah, and that's why
So
I got
it's-
the variance. for
no-
from the outside, yeah,
so it's no closer to the lake.
Right.
and we're not going past the corner of the house either.
Right. So.
Any other questions from the question?
One thing I'll address just from Mary's report, you asked about how the trees would be removed.
Right, yeah.
I haven't contracted the company yet, because I didn't want to pay until I knew I was allowed to take them out. But they said because the side lot, it's pretty narrow on both sides, they're just gonna take a crane over the house and cut them and crane them out, so there won't be any machine, big machinery in the backyard. It's one of those, I love trees, but sometimes it's like there are too many big trees in these homes, if something happens.
Yeah, that's true.
But fortunately, 4 trees isn't too bad, the places I've seen are.
Big glass structure building too, so.
Yeah. Replacing them with other vegetation.
Yeah.
Great.
Cheaper, yeah,
And
so
here's
it's
the,
fine.
here's the shoreline, so, yeah, I just figured like on the edges, you could put a couple shrubs.
Yeah.
There's definitely room for that.
Yeah, a little
Yeah, no, it'll be
something to
nice.
hold your shoreline on.
Yeah.
Now, one thing before we open up to questions from the audience is this is a request for determination, which is something that does not get DEP number, so we would not need to wait for a DEP number. But it can be okay faster. So any questions from the audience, we see your name and where you live.
No questions?
No?
We wanted to talk.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Mary came during a downpour to do her site visit, and my wife kept saying like, do you want to grab? Like, no, I'm okay, like, all right, just torrential and pouring.
Dedication. Thank you.
Okay, so no more questions from the audience. Would you like to close the hearing? All right, the commission will discuss this and then we'll give Mary input and then she'll get in touch with you about the
Yeah, I think you have
determination.
a vote on a waiver from the 50-foot no.
Oh, okay.
So moved.
Yeah.
Second,
Second,
let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
Tom, I. Alan, I. David,
Sandy, I.
Like that.
Marcella, I.
Okay, it's a unanimous vote to grant the waiver. So, and for all the commission members, we also agreed to close the hearing.
Well, it's not a hearing, is it?
Yes.
Okay,
Well, public meeting, technically.
whatever.
It still needs to be closed.
Okay, you have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Okay, let's do what's your press eye.
All right. Alan, I. David, I. Micah.
Sandy, I.
Marcella, I.
Okay, so we're all set at this point. So
Thank
good
you.
job, you're all set. Thank you, Lord, for Mary.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Good job.
You're welcome.
Nice
Good
to
luck
meet
with
you.
your project.
Thanks.
It's a little bit easier.
Have a good evening.
You too. Okay, so 7:45. Notice intent for. James Street Conservation Parcel. And construction of parking lot and training parcel continued from May 8th. So,
Well, we still have DP with the, with our comments, but we did have, or do have a, proposal, to use that fiberglass reinforced polymer decking design for, two of the boardwalks, boardwalk E, which is near the parking area, the Union Street parking area. And boardwalk A, which is near Stephens, deep in the woods, basically. So what Dan and I met with Bob a couple of weeks ago now, and showed him. Dan showed up one area, both areas. I was present for this one for site E, the parking lot. Bob came back with a proposal, a cost proposal to build these bridges. He recommended 4 feet wide instead of 5 feet. 12-foot length, location A, and 16 feet at location E, which is by the parking area. And then he, basically all material would be some sort of fiberglass polymer that's very long, lived limelight. There'd be no pressure treated wood whatsoever in his proposal. And if you scroll down there, he provided cost estimates for both bridges. So the 16-footer at location A would be 8,000, and the 12. Well, excuse me, 16-footer is at location E, and the 12-footer at location A is around 7,000. So total is 14,000. So we haven't talked to plus shipping. We haven't talked with SVT about how we feel about funding this. I'm sure the pressure treated design that we proposed initially would be much less expensive. The advantage is this design would be much longer expected life expectancy. That's where we are right now.
So you're suggesting SVT may contribute to the cost of this?
We need to talk to Dan. Marcella, she's talking. Okay, Marcella's talking.
Hi, I just wanted to point out that not only in the long run would it be cost effective, but in terms of labor repairing bridges that are made of pressure treated wood, if we have to do the labor on those every 10-15 years, that takes a lot out of our land stewardship group. So this is a bargain in terms of labor and safety. I wouldn't hesitate to approve the expenditure, but I do think SVT was going to, I thought SVT had somebody who was gonna pay for trail stuff. I don't know if this is in excess of what they intended to spend. So anyway, I think the expenditure is worthwhile.
How long are these bridges supposed to last, what is their shelf life or the life,
I mean, this,
Expectancy,
this
yes.
design,
this right here?
Bob Hatch is saying like many decades,
Oh, many decades,
Many
not just like 10 years.
many decades, that's, yeah.
So it's at least 30 years.
Oh,
Longer. He had
He's
said
saying
to me
long,
that,
it's longer, but, yeah, it'll certainly be longer than pressure treated wood design.
Well, without a doubt.
Do you have any examples for us to go back and see of many decades?
No,
old?
no, you need some kind of a, no, time machine,
It
but,
does seem awfully expensive, but you know, it's usually better to get something that's really good now because it's not gonna get cheaper.
and as far as there's also the safety issue.
Yeah.
Both
You can
of
have
these,
horses.
the reason we're,
My
specific-
wheelchair could go over the bridge.
yeah, and anyone who has horses can safely travel over these with less risk of slipping.
Mike, or Marcel, I do have a question about the 16-foot, that's going to go right adjacent to the parking area.
About 50 feet from the parking area, roughly, but
That's quite a
sort of, yeah, there'd be a trail leading from the parking area to the bridge.
Have you guys made provisions for preventing ORV use going over there? Unauthorized ORV use?
Signage.
Well, I'm just wondering if it was constructed so that you could get emergency vehicles or other vehicles other that, you know, just so folks aren't, you know, just don't know what motorized vehicles.
Mary, do you have questions about the project or? Molly? Okay, how about Phil, now to the audience? Does he know your name and your location?
Dick Kennedy, 22 Hazeltine Road. Is this the same project where you, in a previous meeting, spent about, I would say, an hour and a half discussing e-bike access to this property? No?
No.
Well, there was, I wasn't at the meeting, we were at a meeting, we did discuss e-bikes.
We were discussing
Regulation.
regulations for all conservation owned land.
So not just this one, everyone, every property that has interest in. Do you have information for us on e-bikes?
Oh, no,
You have any
let's
information
not go
regarding
there.
bikes?
No, I know that some of them are like bicycles, and now they have some that are like motorcycles that'll really tear it up.
Oh, okay. We
Yeah,
thought
I
you might
think,
know more than we do about e-bikes.
I think that e-bikes were the ones that were only pedal assist, not
Right.
yeah, it's a limit on them.
So, I guess I'd like to propose, I mean, we do have funding available in our stewardship revolving fund. I'd like to suggest that we split the cost, we propose to split the cost of SVT for these two bridges. And see how that flies with Dan and SVT. Marcella, do you think? Before I make a motion, do you think that's reasonable?
yeah, I would second that motion.
Okay, so
Can I, before you do, did somebody say that someone from SVT may be willing to pay for all of it?
well, SVT did get funding
Okay,
for this entire trail system. There are 5 boardwalks, these would be two most expensive. There's a parking area. There's trail building, where they've got a contract with AmeriCorps to come in and build the trails like in the summer, plus they're also having volunteer work days. And I thought I heard at one time their budget was 40,000. Marcella, I don't know if that's right. I think that's what I heard. But AmeriCorps crew, I believe, is gonna be like 13,000. From what Dan said, parking lot's gonna be probably around 10. There's other costs, SVT staff time must be going into this too. So they're putting a lot into this.
well, I'm not opposed to having nice bridges, but I would rather have somebody else pay for it. So my question would be, if they would pay for it, great. If they don't, I like your proposal. And that's what I'm trying
Could
to say.
we make it conditional? Could we say, you know, if the money is there that SVT has got earmarked for this project, that they spend that down first before we put anything in? And that we wouldn't be willing to put in more than half.
Yeah, no, the town spent a lot of money on it and everything, and if somebody's willing to pay and we can save the town some money, then that's what I'd like to do. I'm not trying to take advantage of anybody, but if they're saying they'll pay for it, I would rather they pay for it, that's all.
No, I agree. I know, just talking with Dan, I do think the parking lot costs more than they expected. They might want us to chip in something here.
I'm willing to do that.
So I'm just, but, you know, until we actually talk to them, we won't know.
Right.
But there are other things that there's, soon we're gonna have the kiosk here, those cost for 5,000, so it all adds up. But, so I'm not sure how to make this motion, I guess I would,
Then we move forward on it. Continue.
and that we, that if SVT, indicates that they need, they need our funding assistance, that the commission agree to pay up to half the cost of the two fiberglass reinforced boardwalks.
Second.
Okay.
Let's vote, but, so, for the commission, aye.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
Mike,
Sandy, I.
That's a man, amen.
Marcella, I.
Oh, thank you. Okay, that's what was the question. And before we go further, ma'am, do you have anything like that? Sir?
Are you here for this?
What's that?
You're not here, you're not
You're
here.
here for stormwater.
Okay, I just wanna make sure your comments are included. Okay, so. We're waiting for the DEP number again. So,
They're on the staff.
so are we. Okay, so I guess we'll continue this until the 12th. You said that's busy.
Yeah, no, go to the fall. That's what it needs to go.
Unless it's crowded, we could go to the 24th, can't we?
It's up to Mike, yeah.
It's up to Mike.
let's stay in 12th. I know Dan's been wondering where the permit is.
Right,
I
exactly.
mean, he's already
They wanna
wondering
get
where the
started,
permit is.
Right,
You
in
know.
the summer.
Yeah,
Do anything on the meeting for 7:05?
No, not yet. Do it.
Sure. Because into saying that they won't have the other one, so then that one won't be easier because we
We'll make it 7:10.
okay. 7:10. Good idea, Mary.
Some commissions have just 7 o'clock, everybody comes
Wow.
and then they just,
That's what we used to do once year.
Wow.
it can be really miserable.
I know, they're working with Webster, Mary.
Well, it worked well, but we always had a lot more hearings, so there was no way we could try to give a time for everyone. It
Oh,
just wasn't
wow.
gonna happen.
Just have to wait.
I think that would not be, I think this is better, but that.
This is
people
where
would come, it's more,
It's nice for people to have a time.
yeah, more respectful of their time. Yeah, okay, and how are we doing for time?
We're not 8:15.
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
There were 5
not
minutes.
8:15 minutes,
Venus,
so how about Mary
Stormwater.
to do your report?
Yes. Sure. Anyways.
Speaking of stormwater, did everybody drive by my house and see the wonderful job that DPW did
Oh.
on my storm damage on my front yard? Yeah, just drive by, it's really, did a wonderful.
It's because you're on vacation.
No.
You know.
When he
Is that what you
came,
said?
came up and saw it, he was a little shocked, cause he pulled up the Google and he saw what it was last summer, and then he came up, it was like
Yeah, there's been a lot of,
Oh,
dramatic damage. Let's see,
I just pray it'll survive the water that comes normally downhill.
Great. I guess most of these are in the pictures, but I did want to say, so down under inquiries. 27 James Road, if you guys may or may not, this
Oh,
was
yeah.
another 40B
Yeah.
project, a much smaller one. And they are starting construction. So
Okay.
this is for 4 new houses on James Road. And thankfully, the contractor is very workable. He called me and said, what do I need to do for you? And we looked at the permit, and actually he has nothing to do, but we asked him to, that I could inspect the erosion controls. He's like, sure, so we're gonna
Wow,
go ahead and do
I
that.
like that.
Yes, so he's very workable, and Mike and I talked about for the next one of these ones, we'll make sure that that's in the conditions. So that'll be so that's going on James Road. And I think a few of you have been on the email list about Green Lane and the dirt bikes going on. So
Where's Green Lane?
it's part of the Goss Pond,
Oh, up there,
and so that the trail to the bog actually.
yeah.
And I talked to the resident who gave the initial call today, just to update her about, signs and ask her where we should put more signs. And she noted that someone had actually built a bridge over the river, that people are, the dirt bikes are crossing on the bridge. Like a metal bridge, she thinks, and so, of course, this would be a bridge without a permit. And I think we probably, it's not on the town line, I don't
It would
think.
be on the Corps of Engineers land.
Yeah,
I don't want to interrupt your,
go ahead.
your agent report, but, could, I sent an email, with some imagery. I'm wondering
Yes.
if you or Grace could just play that. I think it's kind of informative, it's near map imagery, yeah, I just had my laser point. Doesn't work.
Give you the mouse.
This is the South Street gravel pits, just,
You reach them.
oh, thank you.
So if you make it to work, it's kind of.
Yeah, it's on the far left.
There you go.
Upside down.
Here it is, it's right there, I see it.
Well, this is just the big picture. I can't. But I think what they're doing is, the next image we'll show this, I think they're crossing the river near where that old road is, it's not,
So those are the
and
sand
then,
pits?
and then getting into the sand pits and coming up through those southern pits up into the northern pit, and then Goss Pond is just to the north of that.
Right, and the resident was saying that, and I actually haven't been back there, she's like, if you walk up and down the river, and I think it's mostly private property if you're going north. But they're all up and down through there,
There's
the trails.
Charles, yeah. So could you show the other image?
Yes.
I'm a trail to forth.
No, it's just.
Is that all correlated in the middle?
Yeah, we'll see in a second.
Is it a separate email?
Yeah, it was everything.
The dirt bikes, the e-bikes. Either one, right?
So this is the close up. There's to the left, that's Prairie Road in Northridge. And see all that disturbance on that lot?
Right.
I think that's where they're coming from. And if you go to the right, there's that old road, which no longer exists, but there was a bridge across there. And go a little just south, right there. I'll bet you that's a bridge, but that's the only thing I could see in the imagery that looked like it crossed the river. So we should check that out.
Right.
Spot. And all that is on Corps of Engineers property.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it's federal land.
Right.
So I think if we find a bridge there, we maybe want to alert West Hill Dam and say, hey, could you take measures to take it out?
Right.
And that might reduce so assuming that there is a bridge, they're coming for Northridge, a lot of traffic coming from Northridge, and you can see if they cross there, they can get right into into the pits. And then they can go up north from there. So someone's
Is that
gonna,
the West River right there?
that's the West River side, yeah. Oh, there, yes, that's the West River. Yeah. There's a very nice old abutments there, right in that area, and I suspect that they must have, my guess is they probably used that. Or maybe not, maybe it's different, but
The abutments off of West River Street.
no, it's just, it's, I think it was, the bridge was that old street that's no longer there. I think that's where the,
Okay, because I know there is bridge abutments without a bridge down the street from the soccer field on West River Street.
I'm not sure we're talking the same one, but.
No, we're not.
Marcelo,
I'm trying to get my wits here.
probably 10-15 years ago, Marcelo Bill and I walked this and we saw those abutments. I think Marcelo probably remembers them. And there were just abutments there at the time. There was no way to cross. Anyway, the bridge could be somewhere else. Maybe it's not visible in the imagery, but
I think that's about where she's, so. It says if you walk down to the smaller sand pit area, it's near there.
And so is what we're looking at in Upton or North?
both
Oh,
town line.
This is the town line.
oh, that's the town line, okay.
So we don't own the bridge.
Corps of Engineers.
Yeah, Mike did the Corps of Engineers. Go after people who are,
It might. I think the first thing to do is just get our facts straight. I mean, someone needs to walk out there and take some pictures of the bridge, wherever it is. And then we can, Michigan can contact Westhill Dam and say, hey, we've got an issue here.
excellent.
So
So we
see
have
if
an
they
issue.
see if they do, if they can do anything for us.
We have an issue, so they have an issue. Excellent.
You make all those dirt bikers fall in the water.
When I went over there to put the sign, the no motorcycle sign up on the kiosk, it did look to me like there were tracks going from Green Street into the property. So there may be kids with dirt bikes. It could also be regular mountain bikes, but I did see some kind of tracks that went into the property from the street. So that could be a part of the problem, that they're accessing it through a residential area.
Yeah, the person who complained said that they were taking dirt bikes down the access from the street. So they're coming from a lot of directions. She also mentioned she thought they were coming from Northridge as well. So a lot of use areas.
Well, that's something that needs that investigation. So at this point, we should probably switch over to the stormwater regs. Since we have people here interested in that.
All right, so just a little overview to understand what we're doing. So the town had to adopt a new stormwater bylaw. It was required. The bylaw and the regs were approved by the Conservation Commission about a month ago. And then the bylaw was voted on at town meeting, whenever that was, a few weeks ago. What I had, we knew when, we didn't have a lot of time to review the bylaw or the regs, et cetera. And we knew going into the town meeting that there were probably some things in the regs that we wanted to change. And so that's why we advertised for this hearing. Unfortunately, though, as I looked at the regs more closely, I should have given 2-week notice instead of 1 week. So we are holding this, but we may have to hold this again. And we may want to spend now, and I also, in talking with Dennis, I thought we had to have this done by the end of June, but no, we don't. He's all set. We can take our time and look at this more carefully and figure out, and maybe, play with it a little bit and see what we like and see what we don't like about it. The regs won't go, well, I guess the bylaw won't go into effect for 6 months anyway until the Attorney General. So for the moment, we're still working off the old bylaw, but I think, we need to kind of take time to look at the new bylaw, and I can share. I looked through it, and I know there was a few things right away, I'm like, all right, we don't need 3 copies, you know, minor stuff like that. The fees are way off. And then they had an inconsistency, you know, do we want 300-foot abutter notification or 100? They had put 100 one place, 300 the other. Seems like we might want to just keep 300 because that's what we're doing for everything else. But, or you could say, well, these are smaller projects, maybe they only need 100. It's up to you guys to think about that. So those are the little kind of administrative things that are easy to change, but then the bigger picture is, you know, what are we gonna be requiring people to do? And if you read through it more carefully, these permits, it looks like it requires like a watershed analysis for the houses. And what I wanna do is I haven't actually, this is, I realize these regs are in place in Westwood, so I wanna start just looking at their applications and
Yeah.
seeing what's involved, you know?
You talk to their agent or administrator and
See what it actually, you know, how, you know, is she able to review these herself? I think from the way the bylaw is written, they're actually, I think, maybe expecting us to hire a stormwater peer review to review these because they're complicated enough that it needs that. So those are the types of things we gotta think about. You know, obviously, we wanna improve stormwater in town, but, you know, how many hoops do we want a single family homeowner to jump through? It's kind of stuff we need to think about.
Was that another question, Mary, was like the minimum square footage of the footprint as well?
Well, actually, we voted, that's kind of done with. I mean, if we want to change that, we have to go back to town meeting, but
So that's awesome.
we can, you know, think about it, oh, well, maybe the threshold is too low, you know, so the threshold is 20,000 square feet, which is approximately half an acre to need a public hearing and kind of the full-blown affair, so like we discussed before, probably most new single-family homes would need that kind of review, so.
I had one question, Mary. Yeah, things that were highlighted in yellow and
Yes.
green, what was the difference?
And so this is what we got from Beta, okay? And so if you think of the regulations this way, the only thing that's required by the EPA, which is why we were under, you know, trouble, was this one section here. It's the green, wherever it is. So that's the only thing the EPA requires. The rest of this is pretty much discretionary, okay?
Okay.
So this is what the EPA requires, and then the stuff in yellow is what is recommended. And then the rest of this stuff, like, so for example, like one question I had is, all right, off-site mitigation, well, that's kind of a huge deal. Are we gonna be requiring people to do off-site mitigation if they can't do stormwater? You know, I mean, so where are they gonna find it off-site and how are we, I mean, that just seems like. It's good though, I'm sure it's good, but just something to think about. And then I guess my other question is, so anyone who does notice of intent under the Wetlands Protection Act would be exempt from all of this. But then in some cases, maybe doing the notice of intent is actually easier than doing this process. So you wonder, well, maybe we need to revamp our notice of intent, so they're having to do more of these analyses. It didn't seem like it was equal, you know, unequal. That was just I do need to look more into it. So those were kind of my initial comments. And then, of course, there's the fees, which I thought were high.
You can scroll it up.
Yeah.
You mean high compared to other towns or?
Well, high compared to what we turned for a notice of intent.
Yeah, they were.
that's fine.
Well, do our fees for notice of intent cover the cost of getting the notice of intent processed? Because maybe it needs to come up and.
Yeah, there's certainly, we could definitely look at, so an administrative review, okay, so this is a small project, 1,500 square feet to 2,000, like, for example, well, obviously, the 63 Main Street, that would fall under it, because it's but I wonder if even that little deck or that little sunroom probably wouldn't, but, you know, something super small might fall into that category, you know, $500, that seemed a lot to me. And then the larger one is 1,000, and our current fees. It's a different one. Let's see if I can get it here. current stormwater fees are, this is for the biggest permit, it's $200. And then we had 4 categories. This was, and I agree, this was too confusing. We had 4 different things. So it seems in our conservation fees, so for a new single family house, it's 500. A smaller project is 100. We could up the single family house, those are just what's existing, but it would make sense, if the single family house is 500 to maybe, maybe the higher, it could be 500 for a stormwater permit. That would make sense.
Because they file one or the other, they don't have to file both.
Right, they would file one or the other.
So people wouldn't have to file both, so. Right. Yeah, then they should be similar, it's a similar amount of work for each.
Right, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to probably do a review
How many hours it's gonna take.
That makes sense too, so if someone would want to do one or the other, the cost.
Well, right, yeah. Well, and maybe the nice thing about that 20,000 square feet is maybe it'll encourage people to go for the smaller, maybe people disturb less land area. Oh, maybe if I can cut this under, then I don't have to do the public hearing. That'd be nice, if we have a smaller footprint for our houses. That would be a good deal.
Smaller yards.
Smaller
That's
yards.
what I was gonna say, when you say footprint, you're talking about the whole.
Yeah, it's the whole yard and everything. So that, and I've been doing that when people do erosion and soil control permits. I say, hey, can you, pull in that, make that as tight as possible. There's no reason to cut down all those trees.
Well, thank you.
I'm trying to encourage people to do that. So that's kind of where it stands on that. And so I don't know if anybody's thought about it or has comments, but I think, and certainly you take comments from the public, but, I think we'll, schedule another time when maybe it's not so busy. See,
Yeah,
to
I'd
take a
like,
look at this.
yeah, I'd like more consistency in our fees.
Yes,
Simple and consistent.
yeah.
Do we have more questions from the commission?
So you're saying make the stormwater fees the same tier, so 100 and 500? Or-
Yeah, I think that would be reasonable, 100 and 500. That would be,
How about questions or comments from the audience?
we might want to raise our RDA fee, because I feel like our RDA fee
Yeah.
is maybe a little low.
Yeah.
Although the newspaper ad, when you put in that $110 newspaper ad, so that's one reason I haven't said, oh, change it, because they end up paying 160 anyway.
Right, but,
So the ads typically run, I think they're more like $60 or $70. So we are making a little money.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
How about questions or comments from the audience? We need to know your name and your location. Yes, ma'am.
Marcia Garzowski, 10 Whitney Lane. I'm a little confused because on the agenda it said chapter 325, on here it said chapter 325, but I was sent chapter 242.
oh my,
So
what does yours say?
mine says 242.
Is it stormwater? Is it the same thing we're talking about?
It's stormwater and it seems similar, but I'm trying to figure out why they're different and am I looking at the wrong thing? Are there two different?
I wonder if 242 is the bylaw, and yes, 242 is the bylaw, and the regulations are 325.
Okay, and I couldn't find those. Okay, thank you.
Right. Yeah, I think Grace was asking me this morning, should I put those on the website? So I don't know if she did.
Like, we put present one.
Yes.
Toro. Does that help?
Yeah, Grace sent me a link, but unfortunately didn't work, so then I went looking for it again.
Yeah. Yeah, but these were, I think they should still be on the website, because this was before town meeting. I think it should still, but I'll look to make sure that it's on the website.
I apologize, I couldn't find it, did
Yeah.
search and nothing came up.
Nothing came up, that's
So
fine.
I'd like to help.
Yeah, and certainly, feel free to look through it and enjoy reading it.
I did.
Figure out, if you have any recommendations, and if you understand the HUD, type of watershed.
So on the fees,
That's your name.
oh, Dick Kennedy, 22 Hazeltine Road, are the fees to cover the board reviewing? Or do you come up with the stormwater plan for them, or do they show up with the plan?
They have to hire an engineer to do that.
So every lot now has to come in with the plan?
pretty much, this is what we all voted on in town meeting. I don't think people realize it, but, you know,
Unless it's covered.
unless it's covered.
On a, related, issue, then if it's recommended that they have a retention pond on that site, on the private property, does the town review whether that's being maintained or not, or who all keeps it? Cause I know we have ponds in town, retention ponds in town that are not maintained right now. Sure.
It's another.
Inventory of detention.
It's on the agenda. Yeah, no, we've been trying to, as things come up, for example, the Knowlton Circle subdivision has a detention bond that hasn't been maintained, and, you know, we reach out to the homeowners association and we've asked them, and they're hired an engineer and they're coming up with a plan to do it, but yeah, as things come up before the board for various reasons, we do try to, and some, you know, a lot of times in the order of conditions, it'll say, you know, they're supposed to submit a report every year about the maintenance. But, you know, that falls on the board, obviously, to make sure they're doing that.
Well, that would
It's a
be
big-
Mary.
it's a
That would be
big
one
one.
job for Mary.
It's a big paperwork,
One at the end of like Laurel Lane is not part of a HOA, it's, and someone said it's privately owned, it's on a piece of private property, but it is not maintained.
It's just, the town, that's not unusual that these detention basins are on a private lot. And the town has a easement
Okay,
on it, and theoretically should be maintaining it.
yeah.
But if you know of one, let us know, we'll let.
Talk to Trace.
That's me, sorry.
You know.
Make it a list.
Yeah.
Please do, it'd be very helpful.
Took it twice. But please, let us know.
So Mary Ellen Kennedy, also 22 Hasseltine Road, sort of related, but not just related. So you can shoot me to the end if you want, but so obviously we're abutters to 47 Main, right? We've been here before, we've been to multiple meetings for the past year. So a year ago in September, the ZBA went out to the committees and asked for letters of their concerns, and the Concom Commission sent one. And so at the ZBA meeting the other night, the chairperson made a comment that I'm not, don't quote me, but in jest, he said your letter was weak. So it's recorded, you can listen to it. I don't know that he used the word weak, but that was how I interpreted what he was saying. Would you agree, Masha? Would you agree? Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So I'm here today to ask you if they've just sent in a revision plan, which I assume you're going to review again. And I'm here to ask that you submit a stronger letter if you would review it and see if there's stronger words you can use for the list of conditions the ZBA is. Obviously, this project's going forth, despite our best intentions to block it at every venue we can try. But because it's a 40B, it's going forward. But we would like as many restrictions, constraints, compromises, whatever you want to say, put in as we can get.
Definitely collect the fee though.
Triple it.
A guy can afford it.
Yeah, bigger fee. One thing I'll mention is they usually ask for our information, our opinion, and then that goes into their decisions. So Mary, do they talk to you yet? 47 Main.
Great, so, you know, this has been going on for a long time, and the board did vote on a comment letter that they mentioned, I believe, last fall.
September.
We wrote it last fall, board approved it. They are coming before us at our next meeting, they just submitted today their notice of intent. So the Conservation Commission has to review it, and I'm guessing that probably most of our comments will be as part of the review of that for now.
And our next thing is gonna be remote, and we're also gonna talk about it today, what type of review we're gonna require.
So if it's in your purview and you're so inclined, we would appreciate per the ZBA, a stronger letter, you know, it's like with,
Oh, our letter was weak.
yes, your letter was weak.
Oh.
That's what the chairperson, he didn't use, I don't know that he exactly used the word, but
That's what he implied.
that's what he implied, yes, so we're asking, you know, maybe make it stronger for CPA.
Well,
It did include a bunch of conditions, it was recommended conditions, if that's what. You know, perhaps was considered to be missing, but that wasn't the purpose of the letter, it was a general overview comment letter. When, can I ask when is this, is the ZBA gonna close?
July,
And-
well, it just got postponed a month, I believe, because,
So they're gonna close in July, and then they have,
well, it's closing now in August. They
August
just
first.
postponed it another month, and then they have so many days, but,
well, you know, this might dovetail well with this. They're being delayed, and we're gonna be starting our actual notice of intent review. Like in first meeting in June, so I mean, it's possible in July, you know, we could have some recommended conditions.
and
You know, for the zoning board to include their permit as well.
And obviously, our biggest concern is the water issues, multiple coming and going, right? The stormwater, the underground water, the wetland water. And he came in with 13 pages of waivers, most of them pertaining to COMCOM things, wetlands, removal of soil, replacing soil, trees, things like that. So, and they asked him to update it, he updated it with 13 pages of waivers, so if you could address that too, you know, it's, we have serious concerns.
Those are wetland bylaw waivers. right?
Yeah.
They're waivers of everything, including wetland bylaw waivers, but yes, it's everything, but it's 13 pages of waivers, and he didn't change them at all from the first initial set of plans to this one. The fire department came in and said they couldn't make it around the building, so he had to reduce it a floor, but it's still 62 units and, you know, 4 stories, and staring at my front window. So when I hear a 40 by 40 garage, I'm like, that's nothing. Everything's relative, you know, it's like,
that's fair, you're fair.
So, I think we were gonna discuss this, maybe now's the time, about hiring a consultant, a third-party peer review consultant to look at the notice of intent and stormwater management and just everything to do with this project. You know, we know that Stantec was hired by the ZBA. I would suggest that we use someone else, so there's another fresh pair of eyes on this project. And, you know, Mary and I went back and forth a bit. Mary had a consultant that she's worked with in
Webster.
in Webster, when you were in Webster. There's BSC group,
It would be fine too.
you know, so we might wanna approach both of those to see if either one of them has a conflict of interest.
Right, oh yeah, and what their timing
And
is.
their time, and their
Load.
and workload, yeah. And try to have them, I mean, if we could have them on board, even at the first meeting, that would be wonderful, but certainly by the second meeting.
Right, yeah, I think probably second meeting.
Yeah. And those costs of that review will be borne by the
Right. The applicant, not the town.
Well, that's how we've done it before.
Just let the.
But I think the question is, you know, I would make a motion that we, the commission hired a third party reviewer for the 47 Main, notice of intent, rather than relying on Stantec. Or if Stantec has already done.
And to do a full stormwater review or.
Yeah,
Oh, everything.
Do a
I
second.
can second that.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Press the I.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
David.
Sandy, I.
Marcella, I.
Yes, vote of the commission to have the
That makes Mary's job a lot easier.
review
Major
everything.
project too. Yeah, we need to do that.
So,
more often.
stormwater and environmental.
Thank you.
We appreciate
Thank you very
that.
much.
Thank you, all of us too.
Maybe they can write a strong.
Right. Oh,
Did you say they're coming before the COMCON next month?
They submitted their notice of intent filing today, so they will be on the June 12th agenda.
Okay.
Remote.
Remote, right. I do have internet, so.
You can use your phone too, I mean, if you're traveling, I actually would be in Maryland.
Ask a technical question aside, when you're on your phone, how do you like raise your hand if you want to speak?
I have no idea.
Same as those,
Oh, it's like a Zoom call? Okay, all right, I've never done a phone in, so.
Actually, much easier, faster.
Alan, you've been doing them right along, haven't you? Have you done some on your phone? You've been trying to
I've been driving home, yeah.
I took one once too, and it's just easy.
I had to find the top of a mountain in New York one time to get on one.
But you did.
I found it.
If
Find
you
the
do that,
internet.
anyone.
Yeah,
So,
it's fun.
any other question?
You've done it.
I have a technical question. When you walk the property on South Street, was that privately owned or was that?
Oh, we haven't been down there.
you
Are
know,
you
I
asking
think
if
you
we
guys
want
need
private property?
Concon drone.
Oh,
We need it.
Yeah.
We're talking about that.
Begging for a drone.
You're sitting right next to the.
Mary, your son could build it. He just came in
I
second.
think.
Wow.
I think they have one in the closet.
Wow.
I don't get involved with it.
Usually, it's privately owned, we don't have a drone,
Public safety.
you have to have the owner's permission.
You have to have the owner's permission to fly the drone over?
No, just one.
You wanna buy us a drone? Get the license to fly it.
Brian's a drone from 47 Main Street.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
sure we have other things to
Let's
talk
keep
about.
going.
We have to close this hearing.
So for the stormwater, how do you guys want to approach it? Do we want to,
Continue.
Who's gonna study it?
we're gonna study it?
So we'll close the hearing.
I think next time we do, we should advertise it properly.
Okay, we'll do that.
I'll make a
Like-
motion to close the.
Yeah.
storm
July or
something.
regulations.
Think about it for July. Yeah.
Okay, so wait, so press the eye.
Oh my.
Alan, I.
David.
Sandy, I, what did I vote for?
Aye.
Close this.
Okay, eventually, we're gonna close the door.
All right, we actually would be continuing it until July.
So, back to your report, Mary.
Back to my report. Yes.
Thank you for all attending.
Thank you.
Can I?
I'm waiting so long.
I'm sorry. Can I just ask one question? I just didn't want to interrupt anything. My name is Brian Lewis, 144 West River Street. And I think I recently got confused. I confused myself. I've been away traveling for a while. And Mary and I had a walkthrough on my property in March. And from what I read, but I didn't understand at the time, I was on the agenda for March 27th.
Yeah, you may have been, I don't remember.
Okay, and I'm not sure how we left it. We did a walkthrough. We basically said there was no change on the site.
Right.
And again, I'm really sorry. Am I supposed to come to a meeting? Are we supposed to discuss this?
Yeah, well, it's, so if you remember, he was approved for a house. He's decided not to build the house, because of septic issues. You're not putting the foundation in either.
I am putting a
And you
foundation.
are putting the foundation in.
Do you want to talk about this on another meeting or, I mean, or can we
No, I
do this
think
now?
I think we can do this now,
Okay,
because
all right,
it's
cool.
not really,
I didn't want to interrupt. It looked like you had a lot going on.
because it's not really changing anything having to do with conservation, because even though the house is not there, it's the same footprint. So it's no increase of disturbance, it's pretty much the same amount of disturbance.
I got
So-
some plans too.
Yeah, we can look at the plans, but I didn't feel like he needed an amendment because just because there's not gonna be a structure there, it's the same amount of disturbance. But you guys could change your mind and say, hey, let's do an amendment, but and that's a good question to ask. But that was my opinion, it didn't need an amendment.
And I could give a quick little.
Yeah, sure,
backstory.
go ahead.
Okay, so, I believe it was around May, June of 22. I kind of started this concept of building myself a house. And, converting my existing structure into an accessory use. So I did meet, I believe I called you, Chris, it was a while ago, you know, and I talked with the building department, I did talk with conservation, and I talked to the Board of Health. And so basically I wanted to convert the use of my house, and then build a new house. So when I originally went to the Board of Health, my question was, I'd like to modify my existing septic system. They said, let me talk to the commissioner or whatever his title is, I'll get back to you. And Diane called me and said, that's fine. We just want to put each structure on an independent circuit, meaning put in a new septic system and keep the other structure on the existing septic system. So I went ahead and I did all the engineering, got the septic design. We were in the resource area. There was an overlay of endangered species, so we had to go to National Heritage. We filed that. We got the approval for the notice of intent. We started setting our grades and cutting out the land, and I then applied for the septic permit, and there was kind of like a decent amount of concern with the Board of Health, you know, and basically, you know, I have an existing water tank on the property, and I want to do an extensive irrigation, so I wanted to, you know, keep my existing well. I'm going to tie it to water, and you know, originally Board of Health said, you know, we could change the use, put something on record with the Registry of Deeds, a deed restriction. And then they had me do multiple type 5 tests and stuff for the old septic system. And it just kind of seemed like we were going one direction, and then we kind of went back, and they basically wanted me to decommission my well, my utilities, which, I mean, I'm trying to use this property for minor agricultural purposes. The last thing I do is remove a well. So rather than, for lack of better words, you know, fight with the town, I figured, you know, I would just make some concessions in, you know, how I'd use this property for now, but leave provisions for, you know, maybe if we continue this discussion with Board of Health and we agree on the proper use, the provisions are there to continue to build. So basically what I did, and I got a foundation plan for you guys. I only got 2, I'm sorry, if you guys want to look at them. But basically it's the exact same footprint that was on this original engineered plan. Actually, this isn't the original engineered plan. They changed wording from house to garage, you know, for the building. And what that is that's basically just the first floor. It's an open floor plan with no bedrooms. Their concern is that, you know, how the use might kind of transition in the future, or if I sold the property, how other people use it. So I really didn't see anything that said I can't take my existing house and convert it to an accessory building, but you know, I am listening to their concerns. So basically the idea is we have the ground open, where, you know, we have all the filings with the state and the town. And what we wanted to do was put this garage in, which is basically a first floor, and it's an upper deck, which is a roof. And maybe someday, I'm not even sure if I want to do it anymore, but 5 years down the road or whatever, I can build up from that first floor. So the provisions that are in place would be all the utilities, you know, before we do the apron for the driveway, we bring in the water, you know, electricity. I met with Board of Health today and, they agreed to let me put in the independent septic system. And it's actually, designed for 5 bedrooms, so, there's no issue there. As far as the decking footings, grades, vegetating, what we wanted to do was put this foundation in, put the cap in. Have all the provisions, all the utilities, all the footings, all the landscaping, everything, so we can, close out this conservation. And in the future, if we move forward, we're just building up on existing foundation. And the conversation that Mary and I had, when we did the walkthrough, is any continued development, if it were to ever happen. I mean, I like to think maybe I'd do it, but I lost some steam, with this whole process. That we really don't have to go through the whole conservation process, which was very extensive, the stormwater management was like a 150-page report. We have consultants on retainer, we're doing turtle sweeps, and I don't think I'd really want to go back for that notice of intent process, so basically the idea was we're doing the exact same thing that you approved. And then in the future, if it does actually go to a 2nd and 3rd floor, that's the only difference. There really is no disruption whatsoever to any resources at all. So that was the, meeting Mary and I had, and I think that pretty much sums everything up. And I guess, just to reiterate the question that Mary started with this conversation, I forget the exact words used, but when we carry through to any further review.
Yeah, would you want him to do an amendment for, he's basically just not building the house. And I think, and we talked about in the future, if you were to come back and do the house, we might require an RDA, a smaller filing. But yeah, you wouldn't have to do all the stormwater and all that.
So he has an order of conditions.
He has an open order of conditions, he's been approved, he's done all the steps, the engineering and this and that.
I basically ran into a roadblock with the Board of Health from how I understood.
So
How I
if
thought I
it's
understood.
more than 3 years old, you ought to get an extension.
We're
You said something
just
about
approaching
22.
1 year.
Yeah.
Right now.
1 year.
So I would hope I could close this all out within 3 years. And, basically sign off on conservation.
If Mary's comfortable, I'm comfortable.
Okay,
If it's
so
not
You
changed.
can also ask for an extension too,
Yeah.
if it takes you longer than 3 years.
Yeah.
okay,
Don't let the time go by.
Or you can ask for an extension.
yeah, all right, well, that's good to know.
So that's a
And,
big investment to lose, just because you didn't file simple, the 2-page form.
yeah, no, it was actually
Yeah,
huge,
yeah.
I look back and I'm like, I can't believe I took this on, kind of, but, so that's where I'm at, I just kind of want to make sure we're all on the same page and we're kind of going the way. I didn't really anticipate running into that hiccup with Board of Health. And I really don't have the interest or energy to really kind of battle it, or at least at this point. So I figured this was the next best step to keep momentum and progress going forward. And if this never even turns into a house, it's a really nice garage. So,
Okay.
Not that people are interested in your garage.
what's that?
Not that people are interested in your garage.
Yeah.
Not the last one.
Yeah,
Oh, were you here for the earlier?
Is there anything we need to do?
No, if you guys feel like he needs an amendment, but the only change has been to the height of the building, really, from our
That's
perspective.
not really our
So it doesn't have to be-
jurisdiction.
did you say a lot of people are interested in that garage?
The 63 minutes.
Were you here at 7 o'clock?
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
Oh, that garage.
Yeah.
Oh,
RV shelter.
that is pretty big. 40 feet wide, and an RV is 8 feet wide, but yes, Eight and a half, I guess,
Wow.
yeah.
We have.
So-
looked
so,
on our
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, yeah, and you know what,
Just keep us in the loop, it's, keep Mary in the loop.
yeah,
Thank you.
I got so much going on, I don't know if I'm supposed to show up or whatever, so. I appreciate you just letting me kind of hang in here.
Don't let the time get away from you.
Yeah.
3 years, make sure you press for an extension.
Okay, well, I really hope, I hope you're not extending that, you know. But no, that's great, again, thank you so much, and
We appreciate your patience. Thank you all.
well, I wasn't sure what to do, you know, so I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be here or how the process was, if it was supposed to be on an agenda or.
Thank you.
And if there's any concerns or questions about the property, just let me know, you know, we can look at the silt retention anytime or whatever we gotta do.
Okay.
You know, it's relatively stable, and you know, we kind of had a decent season to test that out, yeah.
Yeah. If there was enough rain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it made it through the winter, didn't it?
it did, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, have a great evening.
Yeah.
Okay, take care.
Okay, Mary, what's next?
Right, I guess we're done with the Green Lane situation. Grace Lamb stopped by today and we talked for quite a while. They remember the parking lot concept. So she's going to go ahead and file notice of intent for that. She hopes for the next meeting as well. And then I talked to her about the stones and she's going to talk about the stones at the next meeting. She's frustrated about it, but she'll share her frustrations. Time, I think.
People usually do.
Yeah, so, no, and I think, she's definitely workable, just wants to talk through it, so.
SV, should let SVT know this is happening,
Right,
so they can
yes.
attend. meetings.
Yeah.
They initially brought up the stone issue.
Yeah. Yeah, and her point is, we're a working farm, you know, we can't be trucking stones 10 minutes away or whatever, that's her.
She's got a point.
Yep. So, yeah, we'll definitely let SVT know about that. All right, 44 Main Street, this is the gas station, they put their plantings in, they're small, but they're in, hopefully they water them. It's their business. And then 22 Elm Street, Marcella had noted this. And I wrote them a letter and he called me today, so that was good. He will, I believe he's available in the next meeting. I think that was the result of our phone call. The wetland is to the left, just on the other side of the stone wall. You can see the green, that's skunk cabbage. He wasn't really aware that there was a wetland. Apparently, and for those of you who know this is 22 Elm, it's right next to the stone cavern.
Right.
And he said he had junk in the woods, like metal and scraps, and he was trying to clean up some of the bushes. So his main intent was to kind of clean up metal. And so he apologized, he didn't realize wetland, he wants to, and he was gonna set up a little place to dump his yard waste, but he realizes that's not gonna be appropriate. So he has another site for that, and that was his whole intent, was really just to kind of clean it up. So he's not planning on building anything. I don't think he really removed any large trees. He may have cleared some bush though in the area. So I think we can, potentially ask him to, reseed. I don't know that he would necessarily need plantings. It could, and I didn't look. He said, "Oh, I had this vine." It could have been invasives. I don't know what it was that he was pulling out. So maybe we just have it, maybe seed something and then monitor the area.
Naturally.
Revert.
Yeah, let it grow back. It wasn't like he was moving dirt. I think he just was moving his equipment in there to. But he is willing to appear at the next meeting. So this is just a heads up. And if you guys have any direct things for him to do, he does work nights, so it is a little hard for him to come to a meeting. I asked him if he could come at 7. He's like, "Nope, I start working at." But yeah, it just seemed like a matter of not knowing. I think we could ask him potentially to put a bound up or something just on the property. He didn't realize, he's like, oh, definitely I'll keep 30 feet away. We wouldn't have to. That's some ideas. And maybe, yeah, maybe he just stays away and lets it grow back. Great, that's 22 Elm. This is 99 West River. They got their DEP sign up. Did erosion control inspection. And they're off and going. 126 Elm Street. This was a restoration area. It's looking pretty good. Most of his shrubs and stuff. He did well to plant in June last summer, and everything's looking healthy. He's done with the house. He's going to be looking for occupancy. He still needs to do the yard. So he knows that he needs to do a little bit more work for us. And I think there's a conservation restriction on this that his engineer is we're gonna make sure that that's done and recorded.
Deed restriction.
Yeah, deed restriction on this one.
It was in the back part of the property.
Yep. Yeah, so that one is still. Yeah, so we just have to make sure that that part gets done. I think I asked the building department to issue a partial occupancy, just so that we have a little bit more teeth, although the client, you know, he's very workable. Let's do. I just stopped quickly at Cobbler's Creek. This is the replication area. They're supposed to be, as I looked at their order of conditions, when they started phase 2, they're supposed to be doing monitoring reports on this thing, and I haven't gotten anything. So I did call the guy, and he's gonna hopefully start doing that. If you will, I don't know, this was a Kevin Lobuser project and he sold it to someone else. So in the transition, I'm not sure the new people realized all the requirements, but hopefully they'll be on that, so. And also, I think there's a conservation restriction with this one as well that needs to be transferred to the town. And so I did talk to, you know, he's gonna get his lawyer or whatever working on it, so. Before 10 houses or whatever in phase 2. Anyway, thankfully we looked at that and that should be, we will be following those restrictions. Chris, you had called about the Main Street one. I didn't want to walk right in front because they were working, but he, you know, it's farm and landscaping.
Oh.
I think he's got a nice little fence there. It's a small disturbance, so I don't think it needs a.
Thank you, Phil.
I did go and look at it though.
Is that like crossing the super?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they where they got those stone walls. Yeah, they're doing a little project there.
And didn't they just do a new septic there or something?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that house, yeah, it's been working in that house.
You know, I thought I saw Kaczynski there.
Oh, yeah.
They connected to the town sewer system.
There we go.
There we go.
They did something.
I'd like to look at it. It's very. All right, thank you.
All right, and this one, I wasn't very happy with him. He did not, so I made him move the erosion controls back to where the engineer had put them on the plan. So this is 18 Kiwanis Beach Road. Remember how we're like, oh, you can't do anything within 100 feet. Oh, don't. And so, but he ended up cutting down because he didn't have it accurately staked out. And I told him he could cut the trees before he put the erosion controls up. I probably shouldn't have, but at any rate, he cut down more trees than he should have. And I had told him, you can't cut anything beyond, but he cut beyond. So now the erosion controls are in the proper place. And it's gonna make him, you know, and he was fighting me because it's gonna make it tight to build the house. You know, he has to, you know, there's a 10-feet spot, he's gotta move his machinery around. I was like, well, I'm sorry. So, but I think we may wanna, I don't know whether we wanna do enforcement, but we may wanna, we might wanna ask for him to plant some trees in this area that was disturbed.
You feel a strong letter.
A strong letter.
A strongly worded letter.
Yeah, and
Well, Mary, it was his plan and he
Yeah,
put
he
it down,
needed
so
to follow it,
if
yeah.
he, right, that's.
I looked at it and I told him, you know, you got it. Yeah, I mean, so.
Don't bring us a plan you're not gonna work to.
You have
That's
to
like
follow it.
lying, isn't it?
Yeah,
So for planting, I mean, talked about the house. the house going to be near that area?
The house is.
They don't wanna put yard all over there.
Well, that's the thing, because this is not supposed to be yard, I mean,
Right.
the silt fence line is where the mountains are gonna go. Right, the house is about, I don't know, 10, 15 feet off.
Would we want them just to seed it or shrubs? I mean, I don't know that we want to actually trees there, really. It's gonna be close to the house.
Shrubs.
Eventually they'll come back
Shrubs.
and we'll say, yeah, coming down.
Right, exactly. 18, yeah, I think shrubs, sometimes, we ask for small trees like dogwoods or something.
Yeah.
that's- But yes, nothing big, I can understand, you know, we don't need white pines that are gonna fall on the house.
Shrubs.
Yeah, so, 20 shrubs, 20 shrubs, 20 shrubs.
Something.
I'll pick something
Yeah.
substantial.
Shrubs that cannot be more lawn.
Yeah, yeah,
If you put something they could eat, maybe they'll like it better.
Right,
Blueberries.
yes, yes.
And some wetland seeds or whatever, some
The wetlands,
you know,
yeah.
the wildlife.
But that's not
wild-
wet-
That's not
not
wetland, it's, yeah, it's upland.
It's all
Correct.
It's-
Butterfly bushes.
Something other than lawn. So he doesn't get.
No
what he
lawn,
wanted.
no mowing.
No lawn, no lawn allowed. Alright. Oh, and this is where he put the well in. And let me just make sure there was nothing else to mention. Alright, we did the peer review.
This is Mary's job list.
I talked to, Maura Garner was in today from the sawmill. Yeah, the other issue with the filing for the 40B, which. And I realize, we haven't come up with this too often, okay? So he's submitted his fees today and he just had a fee under the Wetlands Protection Act. Because the bylaw doesn't apply, you know, the bylaw fee would be around $1,000. And so I don't know if. This is how I've been treating everything else though, and I don't know how Dave did it. No matter what, even if the house doesn't fall under the bylaw, I still make them pay the fee because it's pretty much the same amount of work. I figure the fee, our fee schedule is for any work, no matter what, even if the actual rules of the bylaw don't apply. That's how I've been applying it, pretty much across the board. So I think we could say for this one as well, that it still applies potentially, but I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on it, or if you understood how Dave was running it when he was doing fees.
You'd have to ask Dave, but you need the fees to
I
pay for
think-
the time, I mean.
Everybody's
Everybody's.
like $500 for a large
costing
project
more.
like this, because that's what the state fee is, $500. I think that make it pay the whole thing, I'll tell them. I don't know if you guys think.
What, are you gonna give him a deal?
No.
No discount?
Nope, no discounts.
41B, maybe he wants a discount.
Yeah, I think if they give us trouble on that, you know, let them bring a lawyer or whatever. I don't know.
It would cost more.
Yeah, exactly. So,
You know, email Dave.
yeah, I kind of like looking at his notes, I feel like he was trying to distinguish for the filing fees, but to me, it just makes it more complicated. Everybody pays the same fee and we don't have to figure out before we actually receive the application.
It
if
has
the
to
bylaws
be
apply or not.
objective, not subjective.
Yep, everybody pays the fee.
Yeah, if that's what we've been doing, then
That's what I've been
I'm
doing.
comfortable with it.
Yeah. I think that was pretty much it.
All right.
And it's getting late, isn't it?
Yes, it is getting late.
Okay, well, thank
Way
you.
life goes.
Thank you for writing about with these people. Okay, so how about grades would you have?
We have to approve last meeting minutes, May 8th.
Does anyone have questions?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from May 8th.
Second,
Okay, let's do voice vote. Chris, I.
All I.
Alan, I.
Micah,
Sandy, I.
Marcella, I.
Okay, and you guys vote on the question. Thank you, Grace. And
Any bills? Yep, there's bills.
Oh, there it is.
We have one bill for Amazon, which this was the purchase for the no dumping signs.
So moved.
Second. Okay, let's have voice vote, Chris, I.
Tom, I.
Alan, I. David, I. Okay.
Sandy, I.
Marcella, I.
Okay, yes, vote on the question. Okay, anything else, Grace?
Yes.
Yeah, read that.
And then just so you're aware, the Land Use Inspectional Services Department recently received a department credit card to use for mailing, conferences, and other miscellaneous expenses. It has been requested that the Conservation Commission adopts a policy in which all expenses paid from the department credit card will be paid via one monthly department voucher submitted by the department administrator, Amy. So instead of presenting the receipts as they are received, I will present what was spent and paid at the end of each month. And are the only expenses that have been paid from this has been postage and conferences.
Thank you, Grace. Do we have to vote on that?
I think this is a new policy.
Yeah,
Just-
in the vote on.
Okay.
Just a new procedure.
Let's make a motion.
No, they don't.
No.
There's nothing to vote.
Okay.
They just do it.
Thank
No,
you.
no, 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 it does, it's like approved by, so yeah, we do have to vote.
Oh, we do have it. I thought they just said that's what we're doing.
Who wants to
Well,
make a
that's the
motion?
proposal, you guys can say no.
What if we say no? Well,
I mean, one time I.
No.
I'm just curious. That's all. I have a curious mind, sorry.
Yeah, well, I think it's nice to have our own credit card, because it used to be one debit card that, and the treasurer, if people didn't actually submit their voucher, the treasurer would be going around, who spent so-and-so? So now each department has one, so now she can say, oh yeah, it was you guys.
Okay,
Right.
one minute,
Great idea.
So move.
second,
Second.
okay, voice vote, Chris, I.
Tom, I.
Alan, I. David.
Okay.
Sandy, I.
Marcella, I.
I
Yes,
just
vote
don't
on the
understand why I'm voting on
Okay.
something.
Great, anything else?
Don't get it.
And then last, Mary and I had been discussing the potential of me starting the MACC Fundamentals Training Program this summer and having the commission fund it. There are 2 workshops that I would like to attend this summer. And since I'm a student, I would qualify for the lowest rate of $45 per session.
That sounds great.
Money well spent.
Okay,
We have to approve that.
let's take motion.
So move.
Second,
All in favor, Chris, I.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
David.
Okay.
Sandy, I.
Marcella,
Marcella, I.
okay, yes, vote. Grace, thank you.
Don't be afraid to study, Grace.
And what's next? Grace, anything else?
Nope, that'll do it.
Thank you. Okay, so now going on to open space.
The only thing I've done since the last meeting is talk to Father Larry about the St. Gabriel's land. He gave us permission to walk it, and I told him we need to get it appraised. I was planning on discussing that with the Open Space Committee tomorrow, and when I was thinking about that, it reminded me that I didn't post it, so I guess it'll be later. And that's it for this evening.
Thank you. Okay, Lance Tersham.
The most excitement we've had is the Green Street trails access with the AT, or not, it was motorbikes actually. But nothing particularly new going on. We didn't have a meeting last month or this month because it conflicted with town meeting. So there's not much to report.
Thank you. Okay, discussion items, extension of 311-0793 Lake Wildwood.
Yeah, so there's 2 of these. I got a request from Bill and from the DPW that we extend these aquatic vegetation management. They expire in July and maybe August, I can't remember the dates, but so we would just need to vote on extensions. Yeah, I do have the orders up if you want to look at it. One of them didn't even have any conditions. I was a little surprised with that, but at any rate, or maybe it was a mistake, but yeah, so it seems reasonable to extend these.
So,
Second,
Okay, let's do voice of press I.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
Sandy,
Marcella, I.
Yes, vote. Okay, now we have J.R. Estates, Azalea Lane. Open space.
I put that on there. The intent was that land, at least according to the planning board decision, would be deeded to the town, the open space parcel associated with JR Estates. I don't believe that's happened yet, so we're gonna have to figure out how to make it happen.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Now, we have naming conservation area. Mechanic Street.
well, here's a follow-up. I sent around a list of potential names, like, we were gonna talk about this for a while. And, for Mechanic Street, what I would suggest is that, first off, if anyone else has any other names, we add them to the list. And then, if not, let's have everybody just send an email to Grace with their first, second, and third choice.
oh, that's good. I have a question.
Sure.
How far down the hill does George Hill come? Does George Hill include
George
all
Hill,
the way
it's-
down to Laurenbrook?
Well, I think,
Not really.
no, maybe not over Warren Brook, but George Hill is the slope,
Yeah,
you know, goes right. The actual highest point in George Hill is like north of Stephens, but the slope and the ridge goes all the way down through Stephens and down through this Mechanic Street property.
To follow.
So
right,
down
and
here-
that makes sense to
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
George Hill,
So,
unless there's a lot of other George Hill properties.
Yeah.
Send an email.
That's my vote.
So is that all right with everyone? Just, if everyone just send,
Yeah.
send Grace their choices and, we can see how it looks like.
Now, you're talking about two different spots. One from the end and one from the.
We haven't even talked about cover.
Okay.
So you wanna do 1, 2, and 3 for Grace?
Yeah, yeah,
All right,
yeah, first, second, third, choice. Yeah, see how they score.
she can have fun with that.
Spreadsheet. will
It's better
be
than minutes.
needed. So, okay,
8
Grace,
minutes.
It happens with the time.
We always have problems. There's always something. Have to read.
And Mike, how about Household Pleasant Woods Conservation Area in Post?
Oh, yeah, that
Did you
didn't make
guys
it.
walk?
Yeah, we did. So that didn't make it into my report.
I wanted to come, but I got called up to my husband, so.
Yeah, I think we didn't find any boundary markers. But it's likely, it seems like it's likely that it is an encroachment. Marcella, do you want to say more?
Yeah, we discussed a little bit the possibility of having the Pleasant Woods land surveyed. We figured that if there's one encroachment, there may be more. So that could, be expensive, having the whole area surveyed just to confirm the boundaries and put markers in this time so that we have a clear sense of the boundary of the property. But in terms of this particular situation, we were talking about the possibility of sending the homeowners a note or a letter and letting them know that we believe that this is an encroachment and that we'd like to discuss it with them.
I think that's a good idea.
I think a letter's a good idea.
Strongly.
No, not too strong.
No, I wouldn't say strong because it may not be.
Right, ask them to come with their boundary. They have
Yeah.
to come to bring proof of their boundary.
Right.
Let them show that what they've done.
Actually, I
Is-
think we're supposed to
is
show
real.
them that they are not. I don't think they're supposed to show us. We're saying.
They might not
they
know
approach.
that.
There's also a question,
I have some comments to make.
So on this,
Yeah, so Mary, did you check to see whether or not there's an as-built plan?
Not yet.
Because I think the as-built will probably give us more definitive information. If one is,
Yes.
so I think we should start by looking for that and looking at that if it exists. And then actually, I mean, this property is conservation area, surrounded by a whole bunch of homes, and we're gonna have to deal with other encroachments, possible encroachments, and I think actually even for conservation restriction purposes and basically to control encroachment, we're gonna have to have the property surveyed at some point regardless.
I did quickly look at your map and it looks like there may be one other property that's potentially encroaching, but not as bad as this one.
I had an out of the box thought, just wait until we really know we have an encroachment here. Just wondering if we could do a little more right. Allow the encroachment to continue in exchange for a trail easement coming out of the cul-de-sac, which would provide better access to Pleasant Woods. Because when the planning board drew up that subdivision long ago, no one thought to put trail easements off the cul-de-sacs.
Right, and the parking on Warren Street's not very good.
Yeah.
No, it's awful.
And this would benefit actually the neighborhood.
So the cul-de-sac you're talking about is on what street?
What is the name of that?
It's that little street.
This
down by-
particular house is on Nathaniel Way.
Oh, okay, so it's in the development there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was off of Main, whatever, Main Street or something.
And I think there's just configuration of lot, I think it could, a trail easement could maybe be put along the edge of the lot, which would really be not probably have much of an effect on the homeowner.
Right, this is a
well,
fair bit.
would it go between the two homes there? Because I wouldn't say it's tight, but it's the between the two homes is a narrow enough area that I think both homeowners would be bothered by it. Their homes are both pretty close to the edge of the properties from what I could see from the woods.
Let's to look at the imagery and that. I thought on one side that there's.
Yeah, I'd have to look again. We didn't go too far further in to see what's going on the other side of the house that might be encroaching. I imagine there's another house there, another property anyway, so.
Oh, yeah, there is, and both houses have paths coming off of their backyards into the Pleasant Woods and connecting with the existing trails.
Anyway, it's just a thought.
Well, that's something we could talk, if they do come and talk to us about this, we could put that on the table.
Okay, that's it. Everyone?
Is there some way to confer, like, could you do a mini survey just for a particular property line? Or, could we find out, could we make be able to say with a commitment that this is an encroachment? I mean, we pretty much feel that it is, but we ought to have something to stand on.
We did that at George Hill, and I can't remember what it cost last year. 1,500 maybe. I don't remember. But, we hired. That was Waterman, I think, did that one. No, wait. Yeah, I can't remember who did that one. But we, for not much money, maybe $1,500, we could have someone just identify the corners. It really is like 2 corners for that particular house lot.
Was that in Grafton?
It was in Grafton, Georgia.
Okay.
Where we,
Okay, well, yeah, I just wanted to make sure I understood.
It probably wouldn't hurt to have maybe the property line from Warren Street. You know, I think we found some bounds on Warren Street, but not all of them. But that may not be worth doing right now. We could just confirm this one particular line, then that would probably be sufficient.
It looks like there's actually a room for a trail coming in on this
Exactly, that's
side.
what I was thinking.
Whose property is that?
So this guy, this doesn't, I believe he owns down to a corner. It's like a triangle shaped
Exactly,
lot.
yeah. So right along, you could hug that property line and still not be very close to the other butter.
Mm-hmm, okay.
This house, I thought here, I wasn't sure if there's encroachment or not. It's close.
Mm.
Okay,
Another-
Oh.
I was just thinking that we might even send all the abutters notes that say, you know, we've become aware of some possible encroachments. Please make sure you stay within your boundaries, you know, just to kind of nip it in the bud if people are starting to push out. Just a thought.
Yeah, well, if we send one, we should probably send others. Different messages.
Thank you, Ursula. And for Grace, can you please make sure on the website it tells people we remotely for our next meeting, please?
Is that it?
Marcia, do you have other questions? No. Okay, thank you. Just wanted to attend that meeting. Okay, then anyone else have anything? The motion to adjourn.
So.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.